Welcome to the ALX Show, where we talk faith, family, and all things real estate. Let's get to it. Josh, welcome back to another episode of the ALX Show. This is episode 4, I believe. Last week, we talked about growth, personally, professionally, a lot of different ways. I feel like every time I talk to you, I get like a free counseling session from an older, wiser gentleman
Yes.
helping me with life. So this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so this time, you mentioned that you were flipping a house, and there's some other things going on. I know you're working on kind of a new business. You're looking at what's going on in the real estate market. So tell me
Mhm.
a little bit about flipping the house. I think that might be a good doorway into some of these other things that we talked about.
Yeah. A lot of people are interested in flipping homes, and it can be a great opportunity, depending on your success and scale. It can be a great business. Um, but there's a lot of challenges too, right? It's project management.
Mhm.
You have to have certain expertise when it comes to real estate, as far as knowing what to buy and where to buy it. What I mean by price. And then also have a really good understanding of what condition the home's in
Mm.
before you close, and when you're constructing your budget, making sure the right people are involved, the right trades, the right skill sets, all those things, and then just managing the project, from beginning to end. It always helps to have, if you don't have it, then to have somebody that are on
Mhm.
your team that's got a great eye for design too. So yeah, we are flipping a house. I say we because it is very much a team
Mm.
effort. Um, but it's going well. It's going well. It's
Good.
something that we've done a lot in the past. That's actually how I got into real estate, is flipping
Oh,
homes.
cool.
We did that for years.
Cool.
So it's kind of fun to kind of get back into it a little bit. This is the first one we've worked on in several years. So it's been good. It's been a good process. Like I said, the team makes all the difference. We've got a great team, so that helps. But it's coming along nicely.
Good, cool. Last couple of years, the last couple of years, there's been a lot of people that have been into flipping homes. But then the
Hmm.
next tier of at least a lot of guys like my age, the next thing is to take on like a real estate flipping coaching business. And so they set up a whole coaching workflow where they take on students and the students pay for their
Mm,
expertise. They pay for valuation models or,
yeah.
things like that. But my sense is, and I want to see if this is tracking. My sense is that because of the current market with the interest rates that we're at right now, that kind of business maybe is a lot harder because there are just fewer people jumping into real estate, flipping homes. Do you find, is that true? Am I tracking with that? Like, it just seems like that could be just like a really hard model that it used to be easier than it is now.
Yeah, you're kind of going down in 2 different directions
Okay.
when you talk about the home flipping and you talk about retail, home sales. Because you've got you're when you're flipping homes, you're dealing with a different, um, source of funding than you would be like a traditional
Mm,
go buy a house to live in. You're talking about long-term mortgages over here.
mm,
Um, Over here, you're talking about, in a lot of cases, bank loans or private lending. In both cases, rates are up.
mhm.
Across the board, rates are up.
Yeah.
So it really they do work together in that you've gotta have a demand on one side. If you don't have the demand you need to for the end user to buy your home that you just flipped, then that is gonna impact things. Clearly. It's also your carrying costs, when your interest is higher, then you're gonna have more into your project. Your basis is gonna be higher, so you're gonna have to get more, um, you're gonna have to get more for your home at the end. In the current market, that's okay. Home prices continue to appreciate,
Mm,
so the home values are still there. It still makes it very attractive for, someone to go in and flip a house, as long as you bought it correctly in the beginning.
mm,
That makes all the difference. You can't change that once you're in the project, right?
mhm.
So whatever you close with, you gotta feel really confident about. So I think it certainly impacts it. I mean, I think there's, um, when there's less, when mortgages are more expensive, it certainly, um, makes that pool of potential buyers smaller. But people still wanna move. People still, typically prefer to have a house done and do it themselves, when they're buying a home. It's hard to say. I think it wasn't as easy as it was a couple years ago when rates were as low as they were,
Mm,
and everybody was moving around, and, too, also, when you're when you're working through your project and you're borrowing money for your project, those, um, money was less expensive. So it certainly is more difficult. It may have weeded out, some people that, were once flipping and no longer are because circumstances are what they are, but, um, I think it's still a very viable
Okay.
business. Everything kind of moves together. So if your expenses go up and they go up, like, universally, it's not just you, but, like, the traditional ways of doing something that now becomes more expensive, then everybody, your competition and the whole, market is dealing with those same circumstances. So all prices go up, and then at the end, that impacts the final price for the buyers.
Mm,
Um, so it maybe is a little bit more difficult, but I think everybody has to deal with it, and everybody still needs a place to live, and it's still a very, very viable business. More people than not don't wanna mess with home renovation. So, I mean, home flipping makes a lot of sense. I think if you do it well, you can withstand difficult environments, different markets. Um, you just have to be wise, and
mm,
you've gotta really do your homework and, uh, you know at what level to renovate to, and, um, have a pretty good idea of how long it's gonna take you to sell your home, right? Days on market plays a big role into that, so just make sure you know your market and what those days typically are. Make sure that if you have a certain price point in mind, make sure you're doing a renovation to a level that's going to meet the expectation of a buyer at that price point. And also don't overdo it. Don't make a house nicer than what, like, the per foot,
mhm,
comp, um, says it should be. Uh, so, like, if your competition is not as nice as what you envision, then scale it back.
mm,
Like, scale it back.
that's a
Make
good
sure
thought.
that, you're so really what we're talking about is start at the end. So, there's 2 things here. In the beginning, you've gotta know what it's gonna cost to get you where you wanna go, but then you also have to think about starting at the end and working your way back. What's somebody gonna pay
Mhm,
for this and why?
mm,
And then, you kind of, you fill in from there, but that'll give you a good idea of, you know, what's gonna work and what's not.
mm. Okay, that is very helpful. Also, again, why I like talking to you. This is great. Now I like your idea of, the rising tide lifting all boats kind of thing. Like, the market kind of moves together. That's really helpful to think about.
Unless somebody has really access to really cheap money, and some people do,
Yeah, yeah,
then most people are kind of playing on the same, you know, playing level,
yeah.
the same field.
Okay, that's
So
helpful. Yeah, one of the key themes in there, what I'm picking up is wisdom. Making the decision, but then thinking through, thinking long
mhm,
term, thinking ahead. So I'm wondering, are there things that you're thinking through right now on that wisdom theme that are helping you make decisions, whether it's for the home flip that you're considering right now or working through right now, or any other kind of big decisions that you're weighing in the next, let's say, 2 to 3 months. Yeah, what's some I guess, like, some component of, like, a wisdom decision-making process that you're going through right now.
mm. Yeah, wisdom, people probably have different definitions for wisdom based on what they believe,
Mm,
wisdom for me, is getting peace through the Holy Spirit to know when to do something or when not to do it, or how to handle a certain situation. I believe wisdom is apart from me. It's something that I receive.
mm,
Um, but you know, and in order to receive it, you got to be dialed in, and you've got to be in a position or in a posture to hear it. You got to be seeking it.
mm.
So really, practically, what it looks like is, let's just take this home for example. Should we buy it at all? Like, do I have peace about getting into this thing at all? Like, is it the right time? Do we have the right resources? Do we have the right people? Do I have peace? Can I check the peace box on all those things? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, let's move forward. Um, and then, and in my opinion, if you feel good about those things, you can never control the market. Say you should never take credit, and you should never take blame for the
Mm,
market. You can't control that,
mm,
but you can get peace, and you can have some wisdom about what historically, where are things, what have things been doing, and then you can do your best to forecast. I mean, there's so much out there too to help with that. So many resources. You don't have to be an economist,
mm.
to put together, I think, a reasonable forecast for where things are going to go. These days, gosh, it's more volatile than it's been in my career
Yeah.
ever. It just seems like every week, things are moving.
Yeah,
um, pretty
what's
drastically.
your forecast? What are you thinking about this year? Like, what are you seeing? Getting a sense of that to help you make some of those wise decisions.
It's very interesting because mortgage rates would tell you that there's not a lot of people willing to buy homes right now because it's just too expensive. Why buy now if you don't have to?
Right, yeah.
Because we think that rates are going to come back down. I mean, that we think that, well, like the Fed can only keep rates up so high, and as they come down, that'll affect the Treasury yields, and that'll then affect the mortgage rates. But at the same time, inventory is really low because no one's moving out of their lower rates. There's not a lot of inventory for people to go buy. So that's pushing prices up because there's low demand, or excuse me, low supply. But you'd still have demand. People do have to move. I mean, there's life circumstances, uh, you require people to move all the time. People are always moving for different reasons. I think the average person only, lives in a home for certainly less than 10 years. It's probably closer to 5.
Mm,
I'm sure we could look that up, but it's not a long time.
mhm,
So there's always people moving. So while you're sitting here thinking, uh, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense to go sell a home right now because it's so expensive to buy a home.
mm.
But people do have a lot of cash too. That's another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah,
Depending on the price point you're
yeah,
in,
yeah.
there's a lot of people with equity. So that they don't have to take on as big as a loan balance, and they're thinking maybe I'll refi here over the next couple of years if they can, if paying the closing cost twice or doing a one time kind of close. Sometimes some lenders are offering that. Hey, we know rates are going to come down. We'll close now, and then we'll waive some fees down the road
Mm,
when you refi.
interesting, yeah.
That's one way for mortgages, mortgage companies to continue doing business in a high rate environment
Mm,
with anticipation that rates are going to come down. If that's making people hesitant. But so on the one point, I've got a lot of people that maybe want to buy a home. It's too expensive, or it's more expensive than maybe it will be here in a few months. But at the same time, because inventory is where it is, prices aren't slowing down. Prices continue to appreciate. Maybe not the same level they did in 2022, 2021, 2022, even last year. But they're still going up. I think already in this year they're up like 3.5, four
mm,
percent, which is not unexpected. That's typically what 3 to 5% annually is probably pretty good, for a historical average. The COVID years are crazy. Stuff
mm,
was, going up 20%. That
mhm,
don't see that happening again. When you got 0% interest rates, that's why.
mhm,
I don't think we're going back there. Um, so you do have incentive right now if you can afford if you can buy right. That's all. If you can buy right, you can budget correctly. Although it is harder or more expensive for people to buy a home, prices and low supply would tell you there's still great opportunity to uh to flip a home
yeah.
and feel good about selling it. So,
Mm, mm, like that.
I guess we're talking about wisdom. You may have to rein me in a little
Yeah,
bit.
no, that's great, that's great. No, I just wanna key on that theme just 'cause I know it impacts so many of the decisions that you're making across a wide variety of things, managing a team, building a new business, building flipping a home, making that
Yeah.
decision, but also, yeah, just, like, managing a family, growing up, being achieving the growth that you set up, like in the last episode that we talked about, setting out to
Mhm.
achieve more growth. You gotta make a lot of decisions over there, you gotta be wise about what you're doing, so.
Yeah, I think wisdom too is different from just being
Mm,
smart, and that's why I say because you can, a lot of people are born smart. A lot of people can get smarter. You can educate yourself. There's lots of tools and resources and things you can do to learn. Um, People that can teach you. That's why I say the difference in wisdom is it's something that you receive. It's something you've got to be open to, and it comes from outside yourself. Uh, and it allows me, it allows you, it allows us to make decisions uh, based on like whether or not something gives us peace or not, or or whether or not something, although it looks right, maybe isn't. And it's hard to describe or explain, but that it all comes from a relationship with Jesus. That's where the wisdom comes from in my life. So it's not so when I think of wisdom, it's not thinking like I'm gonna go make the next smart decision or I'm gonna go make the next right decision. As far as yeah, knowing even sometimes in my own mind, things may seem like this may seem to be the right or best decision, but I need to pray and get peace about whether or not it really is,
Mm,
and that is, wisdom to me. So I think
mm,
you can separate the 2.
yeah,
You can be smart, do a lot of smart things and learn and grow and those are all good. That was good, but wisdom comes from outside yourself, and it's what guides and directs you, towards the right thing.
mm. Do you have any mentors or, people you've read or, yeah, people could be like in your personal life or a book that you read or something like that that help create that more in you or provide more wisdom to you? Or is there somebody that has been really profound in your your upbringing or your growing up over the last 10, 20 years? Like for example, Charlie Munger is somebody that comes to mind when I think about somebody that's wise that I have learned from over the years, even though I've obviously never met him. He died a few months ago. But just somebody that has really impressed upon me, like learning a lot of wisdom from over
Mm.
the years.
Yeah, I mean, there's, lots of people I can, um well, we're kinda getting into something a little bit different than what I was saying, but which I think is true. Can you get I'm saying wisdom comes from outside yourself. I'm thinking of more
Yeah.
like, on a spiritual level,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
but even in talking about that, right,
Okay. Yeah.
believe the Holy Spirit lives within us if you're a believer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So outside yourself, but with from within yourself, but, what I mean is just separate from your own
Yeah.
thinking.
Okay. Yeah.
But what you're talking about is, which I think is very true. There's what you can learn from wise people
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
Wisdom can be transferred from one person to another. True wisdom, I just believe, comes from one source,
Mhm. Yep.
but you can certainly transfer. It can be transferable, right? You can hear wisdom from somebody who knows, yeah, that's wisdom. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, people, my dad's a very wise guy.
Mhm.
That's really helpful when the most influential man in your life is seeking wisdom and sharing it. Um, and then I'm a part of an organization called Kingdom Business Leaders through our
Mhm.
church. We get a lot of wisdom through it. I mean, it's got it's got lots of criteria and not criteria curriculum that is very talks a lot about just making wise decisions and how to get how to get in position to do that.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I've been, I don't have a specific mentor
Yeah.
for real estate necessarily that's spoken a lot of uh, real estate specific wisdom. But Randy White's a broker here in South Lake that I work with. Who he's a very wise guy, and he does speak into my life about that. But I've been blessed to have a lot of men in my life speak just life wisdom,
Mm.
relationships, marriage, fatherhood. I mean, gosh, I can tell you. I mean, it would go on and
Mhm.
on. How many men and women over the years. My mom's very wise too. My mom speaks wisdom into my life all the time. Um, have have blessed me by sharing um, from their experience and from their own wisdom, about how to handle different life situations. And anyone out there that knows, I mean, you don't know what to do when you have a kid. You don't know what to do when you get married. I mean, you have an
Right, right,
idea.
right. Yeah.
We all do. You have some expectation of what it's going to look like or how it's going to be, but it's it's you don't really know until you get and experience it. Um, So, having other people speak in your life about, "Hey, this is gonna be you're gonna have to deal with this. This is just part of it, and it's gonna be challenging, whatever, and this is a good way to do that. This is how we handled it. This is what worked. This, this didn't work." That's wisdom.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we've gotten and if you don't have that, go find it because there's lots of people out there willing to share
Yeah.
that with you.
Yeah.
You just sometimes it takes a little bit of time and effort to develop those relationships to where you're, where there's a comfortable
Yeah.
transfer of wisdom, especially when you're talking about, um, real life stuff. But yeah, I mean that's I think that's critical to living a successful life is um, having that
Mhm. Mhm.
spoken to you.
Mhm. Yeah, the Bible talks about, seeking wisdom, finding wisdom is more valuable than jewels or perfume or, whatever, and so, yeah, finding it, seek it out. Um, and to your point, wisdom comes externally. Sometimes the situations you find yourself in will give you the wisdom that you need or clarify the values or the priorities that you have to have. Having children being one, and I'm sure now, market environment that you're in, running a real estate company is, uh, is causing you to make decisions and thinking through how to be wiser about certain things, whether it's costs, whether it's, acquisitions, whether it's building out a team or growth or however you want to phrase it. But I'm sure it's, yeah, it's causing you to rethink things or try to find more of a wise angle on something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Um, it's hard to think it's hard to think of a situation or circumstance where it's not so this the same goes for success. Right
Mm,
now, it's hard. The market is
mm,
hard, but maybe you need even more wisdom when you're successful. There's more
interesting.
pitfalls sometimes, there's more temptation when you experience success. And I think but I think what's great about the trials and the tests and the difficult times is that's where you develop your character, that's where you develop your wisdom, that's where you develop your fortitude, that's where you get your endurance. But all these things are creating growth in you, and they're creating, the ability to sustain in you, and the know-how to handle situations on a grander scale or a bigger scale, and then it's kind of getting you ready for that next step. So if you just don't give up and you do the right things and you pursue the right things and you treat people the right way and you're always growing and you're always humble enough to receive wisdom, humble enough to seek wisdom, which just means a simple, I don't know it all, I never will. I need help. I need some people to speak in truth. I need to know, how do I best get through this or that, or whatever you're facing. Um, and having that attitude and going through those things, that sets you up to where, when you do get through it all, when you do experience that success, you're able to stay there and sustain
Mm,
there. Because I think when there's a lot of success, is especially financial success or status success, with your status is something that we all think is, wow, that looks really great, or that's certainly where I want to go, or maybe that's the goal, that's the dream. But then you got to deal with a whole nother, set of uh, potential temptations and issues,
mm,
and you know, uh, just difficult things that come with it. I mean, and I think that the development along the way through the hard times will get you to where you need to be. So when that does happen and when those things do come, you can stay there. You don't get knocked off.
mm,
Um, you can sustain, whatever that next position that you stepped into is.
mm. That's so encouraging, I think, for people that are having a hard time right now, whether it's the market or whether they just had a baby or just got married or started a new job or whatever it might be, that what you're learning right now is helping you become a better person for when you are successful. You'll need that wisdom. You'll need what you're learning right now to sustain that. I love that. I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, I think everything's on purpose. I
Mm,
think that I think everything's a part of a bigger plan, and I think what I believe is, there. I have a father who knows all things
mm,
and has had made plans for me before I was born, and I'm just walking in those plans. I certainly don't get it right. I get it wrong all the time, but then I'm gently corrected,
mm,
and I'm, put in difficult situations, or and I wouldn't say put, I'd say placed into difficult situations, not to hurt me, not to knock me down, not because I'm in trouble or I did something bad. Now there are consequences to doing bad things. That's
sure.
not what I'm saying, but when you find yourself in situations or positions that you're not, you're kind of there because of outside circumstances, or maybe you did make some decisions that weren't great, but your intent was correct, your heart was correct. When you find yourself in those situations, I think you can take a lot of peace if you believe the way that I do, that this isn't, this isn't going to be wasted. This isn't the end. This isn't, this isn't something that can't be overcome. In fact, this is part of the plan. This is part of the process. And if I have these big dreams and visions and goals, for my life, for my family, for my marriage, for our business, whatever it is, uh, we're going to have to expand. We're going to have to grow. Our capacity has to enlarge. And we're not going to be able to do that unless we're tested,
Mm,
unless we're forced to. Because otherwise, like if things are good all the time, you're not really motivated to change. You're not really motivated to, and you kind of just, you're never just going to stay there because things are never good all the time. There's seasons and cycles, and um, so we all experience this. What I'm saying, every person goes through this. It's impossible, but it is encouraging though to know, at least to believe that no matter how hard things are, no matter how bad it feels, um, no matter how much hope, like lack of hope, like how much, I guess, hopeless you feel. Um, if you believe that it's on purpose and it's part of the plan and it's a setup, it's setting you up for something better.
Mm.
Um, then it doesn't make it easier in the moment, but it gives you the hope. It gives you the faith to know, just don't give up, keep moving, keep doing the right things, and with an understanding that that nothing will be wasted. Everything that we're going through right now will serve out a purpose and is helping get yourself, myself, prepared for whatever's next, in a belief that we're always moving forward. We're not going backwards. Like in life, I think that's the way that we're designed. We're designed to grow. We're just spiritually, mentally, emotionally to mature. Um, so with that belief and hope and trust, so we're not say I didn't say trust yet, but trust is a big part of this when especially when things are hard. That we're moving towards a uh, we're getting ourselves prepared to move towards something that is, bigger and better than where we've been.
Mm.
And it's in preparation so that when we get there, we can stay there. Now, what I'm talking about though is, if you're making bad decisions, there are consequences to your bad decisions. So you have to know, like, are we talking about, are we in a tough time? Are we in a trial, in a test? Um, That it's just part of our circumstances, or are we in a bad place because we made the bad decisions? There's 2 different things. If you made the bad decisions in the right place, there's things that you gotta fix, but I still think it's not wasted. Whatever you're learning
Mm.
and coming out of that, it still can be very useful and very helpful down the road.
Okay. That seems like a fine line, but I'm capturing what you're saying. I think there's
It's hard, but, like, 'cause we're talking about, like, if you're talking about, well, the market is really tough, and so the business is
right,
squeezed,
right,
and
right.
it's hard to grow, and I feel like, "Hey, but I feel called to do this big thing, but I feel so restricted, and it's because of things outside of my control." That's where I'm talking about, "Hey, endure, hang in there, it's on plan, it's on purpose." What is being prepared in you can be used for what's next. I think the other side of that is, I did something I shouldn't have done. I made a bad decision. There was something that on my part that led me here. Um, you know, I think there's still in that season, or in that difficulty, you can learn so much and take so much from it. But in that one, you may just need to make better decisions too.
Mm.
As I'm saying, you may just need to figure out, hey, why did I find myself here? Is it because there were things outside of my control? Or, am I making the wrong decisions? And if the answer is I'm making the wrong decisions, then maybe what I'm saying, it's not like, "Hey, we'll just endure it." It's, "Don't just make better decisions. Go find some wisdom. Go talk to some people. Go figure out, hey, did I do something that I shouldn't have done? Or am I doing something that I need to stop doing? Or do I need to change in some way in order to get out of this?" If that's the case, then it's not about just sitting in and enduring and keep going. It's make better
Mm.
decisions. Do what you need to do to change.
The last thing I'll say is that I love that we started with a flipping a house and got to talking about this, like,
I
incredible,
told you.
beautiful
I said, "Rein
wisdom,
me
and,
in."
man, I love it. I love it. I love it.
No, I said, "Rein me in." You have to rein me
This
in.
is perfect. Josh, thank you so much. Again, like, you talking to you every week, and I'm sure for our listeners listening to you every week is just such a salve, such a, just an encouraging, beautiful note to end on every single week. So thank you for this conversation. Thank you for what you're teaching us, teaching all our listeners. And I think that's a good place to wrap. And we will see you next time.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, I hope it's helpful, but, it's always great to talk to you, and it's always fun to see where things go.
Amen. Amen. I love that. All right. We will get this queued up for next time. See you then.
Alright.